day has finally arrived. I'm mocking up the engine in the Valiant for the first time. It's going to be out multiple times in and out, but I'm putting it in and we're going to figure out the plumbing and the wiring and where things are going to go. So it's been a long time coming, but here we go. Hey everybody, we're back working on the Valiant. I showed you a few clips, a few pictures of the motor getting lifted up over and put in. So now I'll turn the camera around and I'll show you the motor basically in the chassis. I'm working out on where to drill the mounting holes in the front motor plate. The mid plate is in, it's bolted to the block, it's bolted to the chassis, but now I got to get the angle of the engine in the chassis correct. I'm looking for about 3.5 degrees of downward angle so that my drive line and everything is going to kind of line up with the rear end. So I'll spin you around here and kind of show you what we're doing. So there's the motor, and I have the front motor plate kind of bolted in place. And I've cut it to width so it's going to fit the mounts in the chassis. So now I have to figure out where to drill these holes. And but before I do that, I want to get the height of the front of the motor correct. So what I'm doing is I set up my level on the studs that hold the intake manifold. And as you can see, we're about 3.5 degrees. So I think we're going to be pretty good to mark those holes right about where they are. And we should be able to use that as our reference for the angle of the motor in the chassis. So what I'll do is I'll take a transfer punch and I'll just come through the back side of that front plate there and tap into the motor plate and mark them. And then I'll take the motor plate off and drill those out, and we'll be able to get those installed. So mocking up, just making sure there's room for things, gonna mock up the header fit and other stuff as well. So just wanted to kind of show you that. It's kind of important to know what angle you want your motor at so that you don't have to make a lot of compensation for it, you know, downwards. The transmission, the gear vendor, and then the drive shaft are all going to be on that 3.5 degree angle. So when I set my pinion angle in the back, I'll know what the reference angle is on the whole drivetrain so that I can calculate the difference between the two. So that's what we're shooting at, 3.5 degrees. Making sure that everything's level. I think you can see that. We're 4/100ths of a degree, so I think that's going to be close enough for rock and roll. Okay, well, the motor is in. It is bolted in place on both the mid plate and the front plate, and I'm starting to do mock-up of the plumbing and that sort of stuff. And so what I'm trying to do here is figure out exactly where all my fittings are going to be, where they're going to have to connect to, what kind of fittings I'm going to need. Like for example, over here, I'm just going to use this 180 to bring this particular hose back this way and up to the radiator. I'm doing this a little bit different, but I live in Arizona and cooling is important. So on my engine, the radiator has dual outlets and dual inlets, or suction on the pump. The electric pump is that Messier pump mounted down there. Let's see if I can get it in the shot. And that's got dual AN16s, -16s on it. So those are going to come out of there and they're going to connect to each side of this Messier water manifold, and then the output is going to come from the two top sides of the manifold into the top of the radiator. I know it's a little bit overkill. I don't really need to have dual inlets and outlets, but again, I live in Arizona, and I had the radiator custom made by Ron Davis. So since we were custom making everything, why not, right? So, and then the radiator has dual spall fans on it, and they'll be PWM controlled by the Holley. So I can turn one on or turn them both on. I can vary the speed of them all through the Holley. Figuring out where I'm going to mount the AccuSump system for the oiling. And then I also have a Clearview filter. Let's see if we can bring that into the shot. I've got one of these babies, and I think it's going to go somewhere in this vicinity. I got to make sure. Sorry, I suck at holding things and angling the camera. Somewhere in here or somewhere over here. I'm not exactly sure where it's going to end up, but you know, I need clearance for the hoses and that sort of stuff. So, but anyway, I'm putting everything in place so that I can kind of figure out what fits, what doesn't. You can see the headers are in, and I've got, let's see if I can fumble finger this. I've got plenty of clearance on the steering shaft, which I was concerned about, but as it turns out, the folks at Ultimate Headers did a great job of building me exactly what I needed, so I'm happy for that. And then that Motion Raceworks catch can is going to mount on the firewall, I think. Get that plumbed in. And then I also have an Earl's transmission cooler, which is this baby right here. Let me see if I just stand that up on something so you can get a look at it. So that's going to be the transmission cooler. It uses -10 fittings in and out. Not exactly sure where this is going to get mounted yet. It might go in front of the radiator, but it also might go under the car at the rear. So you still have to figure that out. So far so good. Everything seems to fit. I'm going to have very tight clearance between the throttle body. I'm going to get Motion Raceworks makes a real tight radius elbow, and the air filter is probably going to go out in this area somewhere, and there will not be a ton of room. I think maybe 3/4 of an inch between that radius and the radiator, so that'll be interesting to figure it out. And then I also learned that because I do not have the clearance to mount the coils on the valve cover, I am going to remote mount the coils, and they're probably going to get mounted to this bar. Still all to be determined. Don't know yet for sure what's going to happen, but these are all things that I like to do now. I like to plan everything out, and if something has to get moved or I need something to do something different, I need to change something, now's the time to do it rather than wait until you get 50% of your wiring and 80% of your plumbing all done and then go, oh damn, I forgot this or I forgot that, or you know. So this is all just part of the way I do it. Certainly not the only way to do it, but I just like to kind of be organized about it. Everything so far, fingers crossed, seems to be fitting fairly well, and you know, hopefully we don't run into any major snags in the fitment of anything, but we'll see how it goes. I think one of the next things, I've ordered some fittings from Fragola, and while I'm waiting for those to come in, I think the next thing I'm going to do is install some heat shield in the roof, interior roof panel, to kind of keep the heat out of the car. kind of work on one section while I'm waiting for something for the other, and just kind of keep forward momentum going. So probably the next video you see is going to be me cutting and fitting some 1/2-inch thick dyno liner in the roof of the car. So we'll bring you back when that happens. And thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.